with your legacy and goals. Next Ag is just their name. It's your future. So why wait? Visit their website today at www.nextagrealestate.com or give them a call at 402-380-0432 and turn your dreams into reality. Your land, your legacy, their solutions. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and Bob just wanted to say thank you for a record-setting July here at Koppel. The summer sales event continues in August, and the incentives are crazy good. Check this out. We got 0.9% financing along with a $2,500 trade-in rebate on select new models. You heard right. 0.9% financing has been extended along with a trade-in rebate. Also, our GM certified used inventory is filling up fast, so make that money-saving drive to Koppel. It's south of the interstate, or shop online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did. All deals with roof credit.
Houses? They're expensive. And once you buy one, you're kind of stuck with it for a while. You need to make sure you get your best house, best price. You need Ben Bleicher and his team of pros at Professional Realty Group. They'll take to figure out what's important for you in your dream home, and they have the expertise to find the hidden issues that could surprise you after the sale. That's professional knowledge, proactive service. We call that potential. Ben Bleicher and the team work service at prg-ne.com.
This is from the heart of Lincoln, America.
I'll come for a couple.
Here are your hosts, Nick Sainert.
I want to know what it's like to commit a crime without having to spend time in jail.
And Enrique Alvarez Clary.
C is for chunk.
Brought to you by Empire Fence and Netting on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What's up? Welcome in. Happy Thursday. This is the happy hour. 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Nick Sainert, Jake Bachhoven with you guys. Shout out to Empire Fence and Netting for their support of the show. One thing I do want to mention before we dive back into the Big Red Brunch conversation is make sure that if you are not doing anything this weekend, make your way out to the LNK Airport as the Guardians of Freedom Air Show will be on Saturday and Sunday out from the airport. It's going to be a lot of fun. The Blue Angels, I guess, have been flying around downtown Lincoln.
Yeah.
So one of my buddies, actually one of my best friends, he's the photographer for the Huskers. And he sent us the picture that if you look on social media, the Blue Angels flying over Memorial Stadium, he took that.
Oh, okay.
And so he was telling us, so the Blue Angels are flying over downtown Lincoln right now, doing their thing as they're getting ready for the show this weekend. But yeah, shout out to Riley Milhan for taking the photos for the Huskers and posting them on their social media. So anyway, yeah, so I guess, but once again, if you want to see the Blue Angels in action and a lot of other great acts, you can head out to, it's completely free, LNK Airport, Lincoln Airport, for the Guardians of Freedom Air Show. We'll be out there all weekend. I'll be out there all day on Saturday. I know a lot of people, including DP, Rico, AD, Mark, all of them out there on Saturday and Sunday. So it's going to be a lot of fun as the weekend progresses and get you ready for volleyball day in Nebraska, but also Huskers kickoff against the Golden Gophers next weekend. So what we're going to do here to get things going, we're going to replay some of the conversations with Trev Alberts, the athletic director for the Huskers, and legendary head coach, athletic director Tom Osborne over the course of the show. In case you missed any of the conversation, we kind of gave our brief thoughts on it at the end of the noon hour there, Bach. And the first clip that we're just going to kind of play towards the back end of this first segment, then we'll take a break, give our thoughts, or maybe we'll give our thoughts, then take a break. It's going to really be on conference realignment, the NIL, the roster construction, because they bring up a lot of interesting points in their phrases, and in their answers. I guess just overall, just kind of give the listeners before we play the clip, just give the listeners kind of your overall thoughts on the conversations with Trev and Coach Osborne today.
Yeah, it was just insightful, and again, anytime you get to hear Tom Osborne speak, I mean, you're glued to you're glued to it because I mean, he's such a, just one of the best football minds of all time. So any sort of if any sort of tidbit you can get out of him is great. And gave a little bit of insight on how much he's been around Matt Rule in the program and whatnot. And it's been great for Matt Rule to embrace Tom Osborne and Frank Solge in the past at Nebraska, obviously. But so it was kind of cool to hear him kind of talk anytime. Again, just hearing Tom Osborne talk football is great enough. But I really did enjoy Trev Alberts, and maybe it just depends on kind of what you like. But if you kind of like to kind of get an inside look at the athletic department, what they're dealing with, the ever changing landscape of college football, and how to deal with it, how to attack it, and they've got big projects going on right now, obviously. So it was just really cool to get an inside look on that. And Trev was very insightful today.
Well, and I think part of it also, and we've talked about it off air, kind of in the back halls of the station and things like that, Bach, where it's with conference realignment and expansion and Pac-12 potentially dying, there's a lot of curiosity and just hypothetical scenarios that maybe as of 2 or 3 years ago, which in the grand scheme of it all doesn't feel like that long ago and isn't that long ago, felt impossible, now are truly on the table, right?
Yeah.
It's like things we can kind of bring up and joke about hypothetical scenarios within conferences, whether that's a 16 team playoff or a 24 team college football playoff or the end of non-conference games or the end of group of 5 schools, and they just kind of consolidate to the FC, like whatever it may be. You might initially like laugh at them, but in reality, as we've learned, anything is possible and everything is on the table. And so when I think it's really insightful and productive to ask the guys, and Trev Alberts mentioned it, he's on a lot of these committees. He just had a 7 a.m. meeting with all the college football coaches in the Big Ten and Tony Petitti, the Big Ten commissioner, this morning at 7 a.m. to discuss what the next step is like, what's next in collegiate athletics, because they need to be on the forefront, because if you're not in front of it all, you're going to get swept up in their dust. And you do not want that to happen, whether for your legacy as an administrator or for your program.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of think about, and obviously this happens, but like, again, I still feel kind of like for Washington State and Oregon State, it's not necessarily their fault or a lack of forward thinking necessarily either. I mean, they kind of are what they are, but you think about these giant stadiums and maybe what they will become if you are left out in the dust, and just kind of a throwback to what once was. And Nebraska, I just, with the leadership in hand, you just feel like they're a step ahead of it. You feel like, and obviously the biggest thing is that they've got this great fan base and so much support and so much interest in it. And again, all that dating back to Tom Osborne. We talk about how great the fan base is and how just great Nebraska is as a program. Well, that comes from 35 straight years and add Franks in there, like 40 years of just being at the top, and obviously 25 years of that was with Tom Osborne, and it was straight. It wasn't like every couple of years, or you have a few years here or there where that weren't too good. I mean, 9-3 was bad under Tom Osborne, and of course we'd wish for that now. So I mean, it
wasn't good enough under Bo Pelini. I mean, even if you want to go more recently, 10 years ago, it wasn't good.
Yeah,
it wasn't good enough.
Yeah, and of course, there's a lot of context in those conversations.
Yep, absolutely.
But in any case, I always kind of think, it's like we sometimes think of Nebraska just on its own. Its fan base is just great because that's who we are, and we're born like that, and we stick together and all that stuff. I tell you what, if you didn't have 25 years of Tom Osborne, you mentioned it last time, you have no clue what the support looks like, what this program is. He built this into what it is today, and more so built into what it was of 20 years ago, obviously, and then the athletic department part. But he built it into where it is as far as obviously even the Big Ten move as an athletic director, to be a step ahead, to be one of the premier brands in college football.
Well, I think a big reason, and I think Trev Alberts and the entire Huskers athletic department is smart enough to know what genuine passion feels like and what it can do for your athletic department in the current landscape of collegiate athletics. And what I mean by that is, how are teams accumulating roster talent through NIL? How do you provide funds through NIL? Collectives are a huge way.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you donate to collectives? From the fans, from the boosters, from alumni, from people that are truly passionate. Nebraska, although they've been struggling for so many years, you can tell people that you're passionate, but it's through your actions that you truly find out. Nebraska is genuinely passionate about Husker football. I think other places, they say they're passionate, they say they care, but then when it's time to show up to a game, when it's time to donate to the athletic department, when it's time to do their part, if you're financially able to help provide for the college athletics, whether it's football, whether it's men's basketball, whether it's women's basketball, whether it's baseball, it doesn't matter. When you're called upon to help out, are you truly helping through the 1890 initiative, through the talent that maybe Matt Rule has been able to get? Let's be honest also, the talent that was on the roster under Scott Frost, that shows there's genuine passion for this Husker football department, or football program specifically, that they are a good coach away. They are a high quality coach away from figuring out a way to win games and turn this around. And as we mentioned at the bottom of the noon hour, when you're winning, everybody's present. Everybody's excited to show up to the stadium. Everybody's excited to tailgate at 6 a.m. when it's a 2:30 kickoff. Everybody's way more excited to be a Husker fan and to publicly show that they're a Husker fan when you're following it up with, or you have the backup of a 10 win season, or, hey, guess what? We've been to 3 or 4 straight bowl games. Because guess what? Nebraska just hasn't been there.
One and two, I mean, you think about winning at the highest level, and I know that's not maybe the immediate goal for Matt Rule, but if Nebraska, I mean, I just don't know what Lincoln would look like, what Memorial Stadium would look like if the last 20 years Nebraska was on the same path they had been. I mean, you can imagine a lot more money flowing, and that's kind of the idea. And so, Nebraska maybe hasn't looked like one of the premier programs on the field, but even off the field, it kind of shows that they are. You mentioned that support. You can't just go around firing 9-win coaches. You can't just go around hiring people every few years without having, that type of support, that type of booster support. And, Nebraska and Auburn are annually at the top of paying their former coaches. And that's not the way you want it to show that, that there's that much passion around college, your college football team, but it is an indicator.
It is, absolutely. So let's go ahead. What we'll do, we have about a 10-minute conversation here and there's more to it, obviously, but in case you missed it, this was the stuff that was played at the bottom of the 11 o'clock hour. So about from 11:50 to noon, from Gretna, the Tiburon Golf Club out there. Shout out to the Big Red Brunch, and shout out to all the ticket folks that were out there. Vershawn was on stage, asking Trev and Coach Osborne the questions. Shout out to DP for getting this all set up. We're going to be bringing you guys exclusive coverage from the Big Red Brunch. Plenty of names, plenty of former players, plenty of people within the athletic department are going to be speaking at each of these events throughout the entire Husker football season. And so when they are speaking, you will hear them live right here on the ticket. And then we'll just continue to do this for the following couple hours throughout the rest of the day, as we don't want you guys to miss any of the exclusive content right here on 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. So once again, here is from Big Red Brunch just a little over an hour and a half ago, or about an hour and a half ago, if you will. Trev Alberts, Coach Osborne, Vershawn Jackson, and Michael Severe of Big Red Brunch talking about conference realignment, NIL, and just the changing landscape in collegiate athletics. Bach and I will be back to break it down when the clip is over, but it's about 10 minutes. Just sit back and enjoy listening to the Huskers athletic director, Trev Alberts, the legendary coach, Tom Osborne, and the rest of the folks out there at Big Red Brunch right here, exclusively on 93.7 The Ticket. Here we go.
Well, and first of all, I have to be very careful. I don't want people to think that I'm, out trying to lead the charge of all this change. That's not the reality. The reality is happening to us. And I just feel like it's, rather than spending any energy or time lamenting things that we all wish were different, the reality is we got to get busy defining where we're ultimately going to land and make sure we have a strategy, given that new reality, that we can be successful. I want to say, first and foremost, there's one person, and I'm not just, there's one person that is responsible for the reason why we're in the Big Ten right now, and that's Tom Osborne. We did not get in the Big Ten because of media market. We didn't get into the Big Ten because number of alumni. We got into the Big Ten because of historical success. And I always remind myself, everything that we as an administration and coaches today have the privilege and blessing of being able to be a part of, as part of the quote halves, is a result of his 25 years of coaching. And people need to never forget that. If it wasn't for Tom Osborne's coaching career, the picture for Nebraska athletics could look very, very different right now. That's a fact. Then I thought to myself, what's the best way we could honor that? Number one, we can honor it with how we play the game now under Coach Rule, right? And number two, for everybody in this room, I know he's going to get mad at me, but if you really want to honor him, make a donation to teammates. His 255 wins that put Nebraska in the Big Ten Conference, which allowed us to even have these types of conversations. So, you know, I got to be a little bit careful. I'm not trying to, I'm trying to create a sense of urgency, to be real honest with you, because I do believe that, and I can sense where things are going. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I do believe that across the board, the changes that are going to happen are going to be real, and data and analytics has changed the game in so many different ways. Like, you know, the Big Ten network and the folks who are part of the Big Ten, that was all part of developing a strategy around the cable bundle, you know, and as that continues to fall apart and we go to a streaming model, you know, we all think that the conference itself, if you're in one or two conferences, well, you're good. Is that a guarantee? We've never done it yet, but at what point down the line, if resources become scarce, does everybody have the protection of being in a conference? And if the conference itself continues to look differently, as Coach said, and it becomes a bigger, then maybe the conference doesn't give you. So I don't want a false sense of security that we're in the Big Ten, so we're good. We got work to do. And I think it's going to be more than just the success of the football team. I think it's the strength of your overall brand as an institution. I think your academic profile. I think all that stuff's going to matter. And during times like this is why I'm bullish on Nebraska, because if you care about Nebraska and you love Nebraska, put all your personal agendas aside. We come together to ensure that we're going to be successful long term. So I don't know where it's all going. I just I believe that, you know, we can't for the next 5, 6, 7 years, you know, just be comfortable with where we are. And I think that's kind of my perspective.
I was going to ask you a question, Trevor, about expansion, but I got to piggyback what you said. Coach Osborne, how's the teammates mentoring program going? And are the numbers doing well? And what do we need to do to help out?
Okay, I didn't come up here for a commercial for teammates. I know that's not why you're here today. The reason we started teammates was that over 36 years of coaching, I saw a lot of changes. And the number one change that I saw was changes in the family structure. And when I first started recruiting back in 1962, very seldom did we run across a young man we were recruiting that wasn't living under the same roof with both biological parents. As time went on, that changed. We'd have to go to one town to see the dad, another town to see the mom. And sometimes there was no dad, and sometimes there was neither. And so the family structure changed. And I was spending more and more time with individual issues and personal baggage than it was with X's and O's. And so back in 1991, I just got in front of our team one day and I said, how many guys would be willing to serve as a mentor to some middle school kids here in Lincoln? And 22 hands went up. So we matched them up. Had no idea what we were doing, just said meet them once a week. And after a few years, that all played itself out. And of those 22, 21 graduated on time, and the other one a year later. But we got some money together, and 18 of the 22 went to college. And from that population, we thought maybe 4 or 5. If we got 4 or 5 to go to college, that'd be really good. So we thought, well, there's something to it. So we expanded across Nebraska. We're now in 5 states. We mentor about 10,000 kids. And so the graduations last year were 98% of those kids. And when you figure that most of them are free and reduced lunch, and most of them are single parent families, you'd normally think graduation be 70, 75%. So every young person who doesn't graduate from high school will on average cost society $300,000 in their lifetime. That's unemployment, aided dependent children, sometimes incarceration, substance abuse, and so on. And so if you figure you maybe graduated 150 kids that would not have graduated and multiply that by 300,000, you're talking well into the 30 million range. So it is cost effective and it does make a difference. So anyway, that's where we are and that's what we do. But as far as conference realignment, I just wanted to mention this. Trev was very gracious. He said that my getting us into the Big Ten, that I was the guy that was responsible. And I kind of winced a little bit because I'm sure there's a few of you still are not real happy with that move. And so by way of explanation, I've said this several times, so I hope I'm not repeating myself too much. But we really were kind of between a rock and a hard place because we realized that the Southern Division, they didn't tell us anything about this, but they were negotiating with the Pac-12, which now appears to be non-existent, and they were going to join with the Pac-12. And then the thing that broke the deal was Texas would not give up the Longhorn Network. And the Pac-12 said, we need all television revenue. And so that broke it. But we left because we knew Missouri was trying to leave. We knew Colorado was trying to leave. And it looked like we weren't going to have the Southern Division. That was going to leave Kansas State, Nebraska, and maybe Iowa State out on a limb. And so we did negotiate with the Big Ten, and it does give us some stability. But so anyway, that's why it happened. And whether it's better or worse, I think probably in the long run it's worked out fairly well in that regard.
Give up the coach on teammates, what he's done. I mean, still contributing. Give up for that. It's pretty amazing. And don't blame him for leaving the Big 12 either. Don't do that. That would be good. Let's get to NIL a little bit because we are in a situation now where it might come under federal legislation eventually. I hate using the word fair, but how do we make it fair for everyone? Fair for the student athlete, fair for the university, fair for the people that are donating. How do we make NIL fair?
Well, it's a great question. We consistently are told at the conference level, we can't collude. There's all kinds of legal challenges. We need a federal solution. We need an antitrust exemption. We need Congress involved. As you all know, getting Congress to agree on anything is somewhat challenging today. But I'm actually the NCAA asked me. I'm on a committee. I'm on a lot of committees, by the way. But we're actually working on at the central office on institutional involvement. And I think not in an effort to eliminate NIL, not in an effort to even eliminate collectives. That's not the point. The point is it's a really uncomfortable position to be accountable to the integrity of the brand and have no control. We've spent years in the NCAA talking about institutional control and reputational risk. Well, we're right back to it. And I am grateful to 1890, to anybody here who supported us through NIL. I promise I'm grateful for it. But at the end of the day, collectives are booster clubs. And so we need to have we need to be allowed to have institutional involvement in the application and execution of NIL. And without it, it's just challenging. It's really hard. So I think I've been impressed with Charlie Baker. And by the way, if some of you guys have some ideas about NIL, come to the Volleyball Day in Nebraska event. He's going to be here. You come down the field and you give him a few words of wisdom. But I've been impressed with him. He's working hard on it. He's doing the right things. He's eliminating some of the bureaucratic steps that are part of the NCAA. He's got the hardest job in the world. But we're trying. It's just very difficult. We had a chance several years ago to address this, and we chose not to.
So once again, there is Huskers athletic director Trev Alberts and legendary coach Tom Osborne out at the Big Red Brunch. That was just from about an hour and a half ago, maybe now 2 hours at this time. We have plenty of audio from if you guys did miss it live. Once again, Nick Sainer, Jake Bachhoven with you guys back here in the 93.7 The Ticket studios. We'll have normal programming also the rest of the day, the rest of the afternoon. So you'll have On the Block with Strick and Austin from 2 to 4, and then you'll have Old School with DP and Jay. Obviously, DP was out at Tiburon Golf Club for the Big Red Brunch, so he'll have thoughts, and Jay will bring some as well from just what the guys have heard from Trev Alberts and legendary coach Tom Osborne throughout the afternoon hours. So now I do want to mention and talk about the institutional control of NIL. And Trev Alberts mentioned that Charlie Baker, the new NCAA president who replaced Mark Emmert recently, is going to be in Lincoln next Wednesday, along with Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti for the volleyball day in Nebraska. Let's take a moment on that, because let's be real. Kevin Warren would have never come. It was always a struggle and a grind to try to get Kevin Warren out in front of people, especially if it was outside the city of Chicago. Obviously, he was, around Northwestern, things like that, Chicago being Big Ten's, headquarters. But it was very rarely did Kevin Warren, I think just once, he ever came to a Nebraska football game. And now here you have a commissioner, Tony Petitti, who's been involved in some of the smaller sports throughout his previous stops and previous jobs, that maybe he's going to be better, not only for college football, who is the big, the big one, the big fish in the sea, but also for some of the smaller sports in the Big Ten Conference, because now next Wednesday, when Nebraska sets the attendance record, there's going to be the NCAA president in attendance and the Big Ten commissioner. It's a big day for Nebraska athletics next Wednesday.
Well, it absolutely is, and it's going to blow some people's minds. It's going to be great, kind of running on social media, and it really is. I mean, again, you go back to some of the talk that they had at the Big Red Brunch, where Trevor Alberts said, they're going to the Cubs and going to Notre Dame to kind of see what they do for. He's talking about something separate, but for their kind of game day atmosphere. All the big wigs of basically anybody where should be in Lincoln on Wednesday to see how the heck did Nebraska sell 90,000 tickets for an outdoor volleyball game. That's going to be interesting. They're going to want to, we talk about going outside to kind of get our own, ideas and maybe, where that is. But I think Nebraska for a smaller sport, for anything outside of football that just doesn't draw in a football stadium's worth of people, to be able to do that is going to draw a lot of eyes, and they're going to want to know how this is put together. And obviously, if you have guys like Petitti and Baker, rubbing elbows with Trev, and he talked about all those committees he's on. He's already a busy man, but you talk about. I think it's just going to open up more doors and continue to open to bring a shine of light on Nebraska down the line.
Well, I think also in the social media age, it shows to younger athletes that maybe are considering Nebraska, both male and female athletes, that Nebraska invests in a lot. They invest in their athletes, and that was part of in that conversation when Trev was talking about NIL and Trev Alberts was discussing the changing landscape in collegiate athletics. That's a big factor in it. Is are the athletes, are the collegiate student, are the students noticing that you are investing in them, and through collectives and through NIL and through basically what Trev Alberts just called it, a booster club. There's a tangible thing that they can receive, and that is money in this instance, to where, people are investing in me, which makes me want to perform at a higher level at the best of my abilities for them. That's just where we're at nowadays. It didn't used to be like that, and it maybe shouldn't be like that, but that's where we're at nowadays in this NIL age.
Well, yeah, and it's gonna continue to be that way, and that's where Trev, again, just very impressed with him talking about, how they are taking care of their athletes, how they continue to try to be on the forefront of that. And, if you saw the new locker rooms the other day, you see Nebraska's got some top end stuff right now. And, how does that expand beyond football? Like you said, to some of the other programs. And it's really just to shine a light on Lincoln. Again, I think, and maybe this the new airport idea didn't work out all that well. But Lincoln, I love every time football season comes around, because it reminds me of how cool it is to be here. It might not be a top vacation destination, but if you happen to stop in for a week, you can have some fun, or a couple weekends weekends a year. And obviously a great place to live, and just very, very proud of the community. And I can't wait for the ticket to be a bigger part of the community as we move forward. But it's just the more we can highlight that, and the more you can show them, because that's always been the idea about recruits. They think Lincoln's a cornfield. And so as much as we can show them that there's more to it, and there's more to Nebraska than football. I mean, that is another thing that's a little difficult. And volleyball has been that program, but I think it can be any program. If it's not a fair weather type of thing. It's just, this is the way things work. If you win at Nebraska, you will find support.
Yeah. Well, and I think next Wednesday, obviously, I mean, we're so consumed and obsessed with Husker football that we're sometimes maybe burying the lead of what's happening the day before here in the town in Lincoln. And so the next week is going to be, I mean, honestly, for the city of Lincoln, for the state of Nebraska, starting on Saturday, in all honesty, with the air show is pretty something that draws people from all over into the city of Lincoln. Then Wednesday, all week next week, it's going to be Husker volleyball day in Nebraska, volleyball day in Nebraska, and it's also going to be Husker football. I mean, next week is going to be a high energy type of feeling. And you're going to want to be tuning into the ticket, because there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming up in the next couple of days. But I guess when we come back, I want to play a clip, not necessarily as long, just one of Trev Albert's answers regarding stadium renovations and expansion, and how do they need to, I guess, address this changing landscape of fan experience during game day atmospheres and things like that. Because he mentioned something. Obviously, Nebraska's invested quite a bit into the facilities, whether that's a new scoreboard that they got new speakers a couple years ago. Just this offseason, they have taken out and replaced seats on the East Stadium. So, I mean, throughout various press conferences, when I was up on the 6th floor of Memorial Stadium, you look out across the way and it used to be rubble. Now it's seats that are painted the bright Husker red. And so with all that in mind, I guess this is where you guys come into play. 402-464-5685, the Honda of Lincoln hotline, and the Starter Heyman text line. What do you guys want to see? What's next? Is it, I've always been a huge proponent of a concourse, because I think it's important for fans to be able to maneuver throughout the entire stadium. I think that's something where you want to talk about a beer and alcohol option as well. We can discuss that. Nebraska's going to have another test run of that in Memorial Stadium on Wednesday for the volleyball day in Nebraska, where alcohol will be sold, I believe. And so there's going to be many opportunities to improve the facilities inside Memorial Stadium, whether it's a small project or a big project. What are your desires? What are you guys hoping to see? Let us know on the Starter Heyman text line. But we are behind schedule, so let's make sure we get to break, get back on schedule. Back with more Happy Hour. Nick Sainer, Jake Bachhoven hanging out with you from the 93.7 The Ticket Studios here in Lincoln. We'll be right back as we recap Trev Alberts and Tom Osborne and their comments from the Big Red Brunch out at Tiburon Golf Club in Gretna right after this on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Follow Nick and Enrique on Twitter at Nick_Sainert and at Radio Rico AC. More of Happy Hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, everyone. Kendall Warnock with A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. If you're looking for an automotive repair facility you can genuinely trust, be grateful for the opportunity to earn your business repairing your vehicle. We have ASE master technicians and qualified to work on a variety of vehicles from Hondas to Porsches, Jaguars, and Chevrolets to Fords. We pride ourselves on customer service and relationships, and we would be grateful for the opportunity to serve you. Give us a call at 402-477-4660. A1 Automotive, always on answers.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and Bob just wanted to say thank you for a record-setting July here at Koppel. The summer sales event continues in August, and the incentives are crazy good. Check this out. We got 0.9% financing along with a $2,500 trade-in rebate on select new models. You heard right. 0.9% financing has been extended along with a trade-in rebate. Also, our GM-certified used inventory is filling up fast. So money-saving drive to Koppel, just south of the interstate, or shop online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad to get all deals with roof credit.
Discover the difference that expertise and experience can make in your real estate journey with Next Ag Appraisal and Realty. Whether you need an appraisal, sales, or farm management, Next Ag comes up with a solution with your legacy and goals in mind. Next Ag isn't just their name, it's your future. So why wait? Visit their website today at www.nextagrealestate.com or give them a call at 402-380-0432 and turn your dreams into reality. Your land, your legacy, their solutions. Ag Appraisal and Realty.
Problem gambling can destroy an individual's finances, relationships, physical, and mental health. If you are a loved one or struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
Houses? They're expensive. And once you buy one, you're kind of screwed for a while. You need to make sure you get your best house for the best price. You need Ben Bleicher and his team of pros at Professional Realty Group. They'll take the time to figure out what's important for you in your dream home, and they have the expertise to find the hidden issues that can surprise you after the sale. That's professional knowledge, proactive service. We call that potential. Ben Bleicher and the team at Professional Realty Group of Berkshire Hathaway's home service ambassador. Find more online at prg-ne.com.
Acres, your John Deere dealer, is offering hot financing on all new compact tractors. For a limited time, get 0% interest for 84 months when you buy any new John Deere compact tractor. And with a variety of attachments, you'll make quick work of chores around your acreage. From mowing to grading and moving large loads, Acres has a John Deere tractor to handle your toughest projects. Don't delay. Visit your local Acres store to take advantage of this great offer. Acres, solutions for every field. Offer expires September 30th, 2023, subject to approved credit with John Deere Financial.
You've worked hard all year, sweating, building, providing. Labor Day is your day. Schaefer celebrates you this Labor Day. Take this opportunity to save on LG appliances for your home. Your hard work should be rewarded. Schaefer's has up to $500 in cashback rebates and interest-free financing on the new LG appliances. Schaefer's, local and family-owned since 1946.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
Vershawn Jackson for Brant Excavating. Brant's been in business for 29 years, and they specialize in a variety of things. If you're looking for someone to get the job done in precision demolition, excavating, trucking, mass grading, and site prep, Brant is the place to call. To set up a quote or more, call Brant Excavating at 402-474-4113 or go to brantexcavating.com. They're also hiring, so join the team today. Brant Excavating, a part of the brand, who reminds you, the big brand.
Hey, let's bring the whole crew to a Salt Dogs baseball game and unleash the fun. Visit Haymarket Park all summer for fireworks Fridays, souvenir Saturdays, Sunday family fun days, and more. With 50 home games, even weekdays can be unforgettable. Planning an event? Make it a home run with group discounts. When you need an outing the whole family will enjoy, unleash the fun with the Salt Dogs. Call 402-474-2255 or visit saltdogs.com for tickets.
On the Block with Strick and Austin.
Donnie Nelson kind of was doing a little, backyard boogieing with Mark, on the side. With Mark Cuban in the background. Moves are being done and things are happening to which you don't really know about. That seems to me what happened in this situation. Things were going on, conversations was being had at the highest levels, and you're not in on the part.
2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. You're listening to the Happy Hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary.
This isn't the real Caesar's Palace, is it?
What do you mean?
Did Caesar live here?
No.
I didn't think so.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the show, 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. It is the happy hour. Nick Sainert and Jake Bachhoven are with you. We are going to give away 2 corporate guest passes to Eagle Raceway, valid for a single 2023 Eagle Raceway regular event. It does expire here this weekend, so you got to come this weekend, though. So we got 2 tickets. let's see. I gotta think of a trivia question here for you. Give me, let's see, a famous Nebraska number 7.
There you go.
Just one of them.
Yeah.
One of them. Give me a Nebraska number 7 that's a little under the radar. You can't use Tariq Allen because I used Tariq Allen today.
Okay.
Tariq Allen was
So
a
I
good
was
one.
thinking some of the others as well. Yeah.
Yes. Eric Crouch does not count.
No.
Scott Frost does not count.
Okay.
All right. So
No Tariq Allen.
not Tariq Allen.
The big 3.
Also not Jeff Sims.
Oh,
There's 4.
yeah.
There's 4. You can't do Jeff Sims. If you want 2 passes to Eagle Raceway this weekend, give me a number 7. Let's see. All right. We got, let's see. Oh, Waterboy with the Muhammad Berry.
There you go.
Muhammad
Yeah.
Berry, congratulations, Waterboy. You are the winner of 2 guest passes to Eagle Raceway. Stop by the station and pick those up. We'll be able to help you guys out. We will also be giving away in the next segment some more tickets. So stick around. These are not for Eagle Raceway, but these are for something else. So make sure you stick around and find out what that is coming up.
You know who I was
break.
thinking? I was thinking Franz Hardy.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. No, that's a really good one. Somebody on the text line, I'm guessing I'm guessing John Elway. That's not Raph, but you would be Raph's best friend. And I'm surprised I even said his name on the air. But anyway, 402-464-5685. Let's take some texts and stuff. All right, so we were talking about what does Memorial Stadium look like in 10 to 15 years. Trev Alberts was posed that question today. He gave a 6.5 minute answer, and I don't know if we're going to play the entire part of it. But it's interesting to think about when you're talking about the changing landscape in collegiate athletics. Trev Alberts brings up is there a potential for collective bargaining down the road? Is there a chance where, collegiate athletes are able to make money off of what's going on inside the stadium, similar to the NFL? Are we entering this area or this timeline where players are once again making collective bargaining agreements and they're being treated as professional athletes officially instead of, student athletes, if you will? And Trev Alberts talked about that, the fan experience. He kind of puts that all into this encompassing answer. And here's this from the Husker athletic director.
The stadium itself is very, very important. I got to be a little careful how far I go here, but we want to connect all of the deal. So we want to have a concourse all the way around the stadium. We'd like to, we got to fix South Stadium.
Time out.
Every single.
This is my favorite part of it. That's my favorite part.
You love the concourse idea.
I love concourse idea. And here, once again, here's Trev Alberts.
We want to connect all of the deal. So we want to have a concourse so you can go all the way around the stadium. We'd like to, we got to fix South Stadium, but we want to affect every single deal, right? East, west, south, north. North Stadium really doesn't allow for, the tread depth doesn't allow for chairbacks. The fire marshal wouldn't, approve that. So those are going to have to be bench seating. But we need to do a better job, make it more intuitive for our fans. We've got like 13 different, entrance points in terms of seat licensing fees. If we could get that down to 5 or 6, Michael, have a bunch of seats that don't require any seat licensing. That's one of the things that we learned. There's a lot of people that feel like experiencing Husker football is outside of their economic capability. That can't be the case. We did a lot of research, and between seat licensing fees and ticket costs, we're the 5th most expensive ticket in college football, and that's not right, especially when you're 3-9. So we've got some solutions. We need to rethink a lot of things. I don't want to announce a bunch of stuff because you might get really mad at me, but this is going to be very disruptive. We have to do this. This is some difficult things we're going to have to do. Everybody's going to be affected, but in the end, I think it's going to be really important because what I'm focused about the fan experience. We compete against the 80-inch TV every day. And if what you experience at Memorial Stadium doesn't supersede what you can get in your basement, then we got a problem, right? So we've got to make sure it's special. We have to have room around the stadium for families. We put Go Big in there. We kind of lost some of the space that young kids would go play with the football. And so we've got to rethink that. We're going to rethink, integration with our campus on the academic side. We went to Notre Dame and studied how they had integrated some of that. I will tell you from a business perspective, we spent a day with the Cubs and watched what the Ricketts family had done with Wrigleyville and sort of taken this iconic stadium and transitioning it. And they didn't just dramatically raise ticket prices, but they tripled their revenue. And part of that was by dramatically increasing point of sale, just very fundamental things that we can do within the stadium. I don't know where the future is. I know this is going to shock you. But, if we ever end up getting into a situation where we're collectively bargaining, that's probably not been brought up a lot in college athletics. But if that ever happened down the road, players have rights to revenues that happen inside the stadium. Why does NFL teams like the Bears, why will they move from downtown to Arlington, Illinois, buy a bunch of land? Because they'll develop around their stadium and they'll create new revenue streams, and they have 100% of that. They have to share revenues with the players inside the stadium. So you're starting to see some of that happening across college athletics. We'll probably look beyond the stadium at some development opportunities. We have to find new entrepreneurial revenue streams. As I think about the future, I think about if it's not aggregated total in terms of your media rights and it's individualized, let's say there could be a reduction for us. And then if an increasing amount of dollars we're currently using to aggregate to pay for all of our expenses goes directly to players, how are we going to replace it? That's the goal. That's the job. Because it's going to happen. It's been slowly happening. When I played, Rashawn and I, we got a scholarship. And it was the coolest thing in the world that they paid for me to go to college. That's it. I didn't have to pay any of my school. And then after we all left, they got cost of attendance. And now it's $59.80. So each student athlete, and we've chosen to do it for all equivalent and head count sports and walk-ons. Every student athlete at the University of Nebraska, male or female, as long as they meet basic requirements in academic progress and graduation, they get $5,980 of cash a year. So you can imagine, little by little, we are slowly deteriorating our revenue sources, and it's going directly to players. And this is being dictated to us through the courts. This is not college athletics deciding this. This is Judge Wilkin in the Northern District of California declaring you will do this. All right. So we believe that that's going to continue until there's a federal intervention. So what I'm trying to prepare for is, I don't know the number, whether it's $5 million, $10 or $40 million annually that gets redistributed. How do we react? We can't just raise ticket prices. We've got to find new entrepreneurial ways to replace it. And this is where I'm bullish and I'm confident, because we have all of you. We're the best fan base in the country. And because of Coach Osborne and his football success for 25 years, this is the only athletic department in the Big Ten Conference that currently has no debt. And you should be very proud of that. So, and now I'm going to be fully transparent. We are going to have some debt on the Go Big project. So, but we have an 18-month repayment because I don't like debt. And then we'll probably have a little bit more as we work on the stadium. But the point is this: some of our colleagues, I think about all this kind of stuff. It's a benefit to us that we don't have as many sports. We've got about 590 student athletes. Ohio State and Michigan have over 1,000. Right? So the cost of that is really significant annually. You think about the debt. Many of my peers in the Big Ten, they start every fiscal year $25 million in the hole of debt service. They're starting. And so when you remember when we went through COVID, there were certain athletic departments that were taking out loans to get through operations. So this is where, as this all changes, while it's scary in a way, if we stick together with our fan base and Coach Rule continues to make progress in the rest of our sports, I really believe we can emerge out of this. If the healthiest balance sheet wins, I like our chances.
So then once again, there is Trev Alberts speaking earlier today at the Big Red Brunch out at Tiburon Golf Club in Gretna. Next year, Jake Bachhoven back with you here once again in the studio here in Lincoln. We're just kind of recapping what Trev and Coach Osborne had said over about almost 2 hours ago now, right here on 93.7 The Ticket. Once again, we'll be broadcasting live from the Big Red Brunch every single event, and every single guest that the Big Red Brunch has out there will be interviewed by one of our guys and will be broadcasted live on air on the stream because there is a camera and a visual component there if you would rather view it that way. All Husker football season long right here on the Ticket and theticketfm.com. I want to give our thoughts on some of the things that Trev Alberts said right there, that Nebraska is not in debt. They are going to be with the Go Big project, but that there's going to be an 18-month repayment period. He mentioned ticket prices in that. What does Memorial Stadium look like in 10 to 15 years? He mentions a concourse. He mentions getting rid of some of the gates so that it's just easier for people to go in to the stadium. And so with that, we'll kind of dissect all of our thoughts and give, just kind of the overarching, conclusion of what we feel like regarding Trev Alberts and Coach Tom Osborne, with myself, Bach, if he wants to stick around. Rico is back from the Big Red Brunch, so we'll bring him in and have him talk and discuss some things. Austin and Strick will join us for the crossover, as well as we get you ready for On the Block with Strick and Austin coming up here shortly after 2 p.m. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. 402-464-5685. The Honda of Lincoln hotline and the Starter Heyman text line are both open for you guys, as well as the Starter Heyman Jewelers live video stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. You're listening to the Happy Hour, 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day long wherever you are. The Happy Hour is next. 93.7 and theticketfm.com.
You've worked hard all year, sweating, building, providing. Labor Day is your day. Schaefer celebrates you this Labor Day. Take this opportunity to save on LG appliances for your home. Your hard work should be rewarded. Schaefer's has up to $500 in cashback rebates and interest-free financing on the new LG appliances you deserve. Schaefer's, local and family-owned since 1946.
IT projects piling up again? Managing IT can definitely be frustrating. Whether you have an in-house IT department or you manage it yourself, let Hamilton be your experts. At Hamilton, we take the frustration out of your business tech issues with managed IT solutions. We specialize in co-managed and fully managed IT. Does your business need better managed IT? Hire your local experts. Hire Hamilton at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln and across Nebraska by offering a number of services. From group homes to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people with developmental disabilities, you can check out open positions along with learning more about services at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices. Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hey, it's Jake Sorensen. Tune in this Friday as Early Break with myself, Steve Sipple, and Bill Bush broadcast from the Nebraska Army National Guard hangar ahead of the air show this weekend. You won't want to miss this one. That's this Friday for Early Break from 6 to 8 a.m. at the Nebraska Army National Guard hangar.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
If your car has sent you to the sidelines, Eustace Body Shop can help. With gold-class certified technicians, OEM parts, and free loaner cars, Eustace Body Shop is your best choice this Husker season. And with 6 locations across central and eastern Nebraska, we've got you covered, whether you're rooting at home or you're headed to Memorial Stadium. Get a free online quote at EustaceBodyShop.com, and let's get you back in the game.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
Hi, I'm a volleyball. It's an okay life. I go back and forth about it. But I really wish I was a Nebraska Lottery Powerball or Mega Millions Mega Ball. See, all they have to do is mix around in a big plastic bubble and roll down a ramp, and then people win millions. What a great life. As for me, I get thrown around all day and have to worry about getting spiked. which is about to happen right now. Oh, couldn't you just do a nice gentle tip?
The Nebraska Lottery. Top prize odds vary by game.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill. Open for lunch and dinner at 10th and P or at 1501 Center Park Road.
Get ready for an unforgettable night at Ignite Lincoln 15. On September 14th, Rococo Theater will come alive with captivating stories from diverse voices that inspire change and spark connection. You'll hear from 12 passionate speakers, including our 5 nonprofit finalists, who are making a real impact. Be part of this remarkable event that celebrates the power of storytelling. Secure your spot now by purchasing tickets at ignitelincoln.org and join us in creating a brighter future together. Don't miss your chance to experience Ignite Lincoln 15, a night of inspiration, community, and possibility.
97 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
The Lincoln forecast for today will see lots of sunshine and another very hot day. The afternoon highs are expected to be around 103. Tonight we'll see mostly clear skies and a very warm night. We'll around 76. And tomorrow mostly sunny with a slight chance of storms in the afternoon. High should be around 96. Meteorologist Kyle Hunter from 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. The home of Kansas City Royals baseball. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. You're listening to the Happy Hour. Nick Sainert.
I'm leaving people.
And Enrique Alvarez Clary.
What do you mean, you people? What do you mean, you people?
Sponsored by Empire Fence and Netting on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back here one final time on the Happy Hour, 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Nick, Bach, Strick, and Austin all joining you here. Rico's out in the hallway. I asked him if he wanted to come in, and he said no. He didn't want to talk to you people. He didn't want to say anything to you
What
people.
do you mean, you people?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's
So,
why he's been voted what?
hey, man, I'm staying out of that. I'm staying out of that. But least favorite in the office.
Anyway, let's get 402
Anyway,
465
the Honda Lincoln Hotline,
and the
Starter
Starter
Heyman text line are both open for you guys the rest of the way.
All right,
so Austin, you were able to hear some of the things and comments that Trev Alberts and Coach Osborne said during the Big Red Brunch earlier today.
One of those was
ticket prices. Ticket prices are Nebraska's top 5 in the country in ticket prices, and Trev Alberts wants to change that so that it maybe is a little more affordable for families to attend Husker football games. I mean, Nebraska's not in any debt, but they got to figure out a way to continue to sell tickets if they're going to continue to lose games.
Well, college football attendance is down across the board. Right. I mean, I get it. Sell that streak still going, but we know what that's looked like and how that's been able to continue. Reducing ticket prices, I think on its face would seem counterproductive.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've seen what Atlanta has done with concessions prices, right? My guess is you sell more the cheaper it is. Mm-hmm. And I get the sellout streak still going. So maybe reducing ticket prices too much wouldn't be good for Nebraska. But Trev Alberts has a point. You're 3-9. Mm-hmm. You can't be that expensive when you're 3-9, right? People are going to pay a premium for successful teams to go watch something that they're entertained by. They don't want to pay that. They don't want to pay that much out of an obligation to go to keep some sellout streak going. So I think it would work better if Nebraska would lop 10, 15, 20% off the tickets. I think those would sell much better. And I think that would fit with something that Trev Alberts talks a lot about is Midwestern values, right? Hardworking. Nebraska football isn't, supposed to be this elite, untouchable thing for the fans. Because if we're going to say our fans are the best, it has to be accessible to them. They have to be able to get their hands on it. So I think it fits a very Midwestern, Nebraskan, hardworking, for the people sort of value. Yeah. If your families, which are the basis of your fans, are able to attend your games consistently.
Which maybe a comparison would be the College World Series. You want it more so like Rosenblatt, where it's a not a smaller venue necessarily, but you want it to feel more intimate and more accessible rather than at a corporate feel type of ballpark that is TD Ameritrade, where the prices are much more expensive.
Well, Trev Alberts mentioned the upgrades that happened when Tom Osborne was AD, adding the suites, right? The addition for that. There's been a lot of talk about that and not nearly as much for how do we make, Joe Everyfan's experience better? I get it. You get more money probably from individual, big donors, suite buyers. But my guess would be you get more money cumulatively from people buying single game tickets, especially if they're more made available.
Yeah, I mean, and one thing I will say, and we got this text on the text line, 402-464-5685. Gorilla Bear says, hopefully they have a plan with the student section. It's quite possibly in the worst spot imaginable now. And we have this conversation every year, it feels like, to where it's where do they put them? Where do you put the students to where it doesn't disrupt with season ticket holders that have had those seats, for generations, right? Throughout years and years, they've been passed down, and that whole story and how that all goes. Where do you put the student section? And I don't know if there's ever been a realistic answer or option for that.
The answer is behind the opponent's bench.
It is.
I mean, that's the correct answer. That's how this.
There's
should
opposing
work.
fans on that side as well,
right? And so I guess you would want to say opposing fans from the student section, because that has potential to get dangerous.
A little chippy.
Right. But I think there are ways you can reshuffle things to make it work out, because I think about what goes on at PBA, right? The student section spans basically all the way across that one side. So it's behind both benches. Why not make the student section deeper right behind the opponent's bench, so it's louder there, something like that? I don't know.
Strick, you played against obviously you had opponents that came into Devaney, and that was student section was behind the buckets.
It was behind the buckets, kind of, and then the athlete sections was kind of towards the entrance way for where we went in and out of the arena. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty raucous. It got pretty.
But you guys are also
rowdy.
good.
I mean, see, and but here's my so you said something that I had a question about, and I'm gonna throw it to all of you. My question then becomes, if we look at Nebraska football, let's just stay with the football. If we look at Nebraska football, premium price for success, at which point do the fans finally say, or what is the breaking point where the fans finally say this record doesn't mean the same to us that it used to? Like, what's your thought on that? Like, how long would Rule have, or when is the point where the fans would just
in terms of the sellout streak? I think you're already there. I really do. I think you've been there for a couple of years, and that's why they had to implement this red carpet experience, which at its roots is for a good cause. You're giving underprivileged kids an opportunity to go see a Husker football game, and that's how you're kind of filling seats. But also, when you take away the fact and Nebraska basically giving tickets away, you understand that it's not an authentic sellout. So I think, but now I think also there's something to be said about past.
Okay, so let's stay there.
Yeah, it's like I think you've gotten past this. Oh, how dare it be fake? And I think people have just been like, all right, well, you know what? This is what it's going to be from now on. Might as well just keep it going.
So what about so okay, we're there. So we understand that there's an enhancement to it right now to make it what it is. When do we start seeing like some of the top teams that used to be like Florida or Auburn, where you start to see that sparsity again? When do you think we get to that
in terms of Nebraska?
When do you think we hit that, or do we?
I don't think they'll ever let. I don't think they'll
ever
let it happen because we've seen it now in the recent years where they've given out ticket packages and deals where it's like get three, come to buy tickets for 3 games and you get them for a discounted price. You've seen it. It's not necessarily to the extent that Memphis is at, where it's pay a $60 ticket, and if they win, you get a free ticket for next game. They did a buy one get one free package last year. I mean, Nebraska, that's unheard of at Nebraska. I think you're already there.
Have you seen what Memphis is doing? This
is
something,
about the $60.
Yes. You buy one ticket for $60. Every game they win, you get a ticket to the next home game.
Yeah. And so,
but they do have a pretty tough schedule, like 5 games deep. So
right.
They make sure it's not everybody's getting free tickets all season.
That idea.
It's like the hole in one at some of the holes where it's 200 yard with the wind blowing downhill
for a $50 gift card. No, I'm just kidding. No, normally it's like a car.
And by the way, I do want to mention there is revived energy now. The last couple of years has been that drought. Trev Alberts mentioned the other night on a radio program, they're going to have a sellout streak, no problem this year. And I think to Strick's point, I think that's here. When could it return? Is if Rule struggles to get anything going by year 3 or something like that.
That was my question.
What's interesting also is that I don't know how many times you can bring in a coach and have revived energy, right? Because I think, like, just speaking hypothetically and in the future, if Matt Rule does not have success, they're going to bring in a coach, and I think there's going to be revived energy, just not as much as there was with Matt Rule. Just as with Matt Rule, there's not as much as there was with Scott Frost.
Okay, so let's kind of think back through Husker history here. Frank Solich comes in. I think excitement is still on the level.
Yes.
Right? Callahan comes in. I think that's a dip. Yep. Right, just because of how Frank left. Bo comes in. I think you get up to maybe 75%, excitement level. I don't remember the conversation around Bo's hiring, but you got to a pretty good point. People were fine with Bo, fine with Bo, fine with Bo. Yep. Mike Riley comes in. It's just a screeching halt, really. Okay, what's going on?
Like the DJ.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody had to Google him.
I think people were morbidly curious. They're like, okay, I guess we'll give this guy a shot. Not the way I would have gone, but whatever. Then we see things careen down the mountain. Scott Frost comes. I don't know if there's ever been more hype in the social media era sense around Nebraska than when Scott Frost hiring was announced. Like, that's a straight vertical line in terms of just the hype as we think about the word hype. Now with Matt Rule, I think it's somewhere probably between Bo and Scott Frost, but probably slightly closer to Bo. I think there's a lot more wait and see with enough excitement.
And that's understandable, but I guess to my point, we talk about, all right, yeah, so you're not going to have a problem selling it out this year, but what about in 5 years and Nebraska needs to move on from Matt Rule, or if they do need to move on from Matt Rule and they have to find somebody, you can bring in the top name or whatever, but as we've learned throughout multiple coaches, track record doesn't matter. Because at that point, you would have had 2 straight coaches with pretty successful track records at the college level, although Scott Frost was very small. And to be honest, Matt Rules is somewhat small too. He's 47 and 43 in his career. He's not like he's playing 300 games at the college level. So I guess with that in mind, you could bring in anybody, but then you're always going to have that, well, look, track record doesn't mean that a whole lot.
So what does a record look like then? What does a record look like where you're starting to see that trajectory back down again to
5
valley?
5 or fewer.
5 or fewer?
I think 5 or fewer.
I think so too.
It's not being able to have a postseason experience is going to be, that's the worst part right now.
The other aspect of all that I want to touch on too is what does it look like in 5 years if we're in a spot where we might be ready to move on from Matt Rule? That's the point where I would hope decision makers in power, whether it's regents, administration, boosters, take a step back and say, what's our role in this? Are we part of the problem? Right? Yeah. Because if Scott Frost fails and Matt Rule fails and you haven't been back, to college football playoff or the national championship game since the 2001 season, at some point, maybe it's not just the coaches. Maybe there's more going on behind the scenes. Hope it doesn't get to that point, but I do think at some point there needs to be that step backwards to find some self-awareness.
Look in the mirror. What's interesting here on the text line, Thunder Not Calling says also the student section has been pretty pitiful lately. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, that nowadays, and this, I hate to put the general blanket statement over the top of it, winning will fix this. But when you're not winning games, or also Nebraska hasn't necessarily had big time opponents in Memorial Stadium consistently, whether that's non-con or whether that's
2021 was quite all right.
2021 was all right because you had
what was the return of fans?
You had the return of fans, which helped out. But and you've had
Ohio State, Michigan.
But I'm saying you've had one game of Michigan, you've had one game of Ohio State, but also those games outside of the Michigan game where Adrian Martinez fumbled it in 2021, they were over by halftime, right? So then you're turning to these games. Instead of going to watch a football team and try to energize the crowd, it's turning into a social event for the students. That's where it's coming. They're coming. And there's something to be said about students being psyched and getting excited to go to the game and be loud. They might be loud at the start, but after the first quarter, when you have 12 total yards and you're down 14-0, it's tough to get rejuvenized. And they're saying
Nebraska was close in most of these games, Nick. That was the whole Scott Frost era.
You have 2019 Ohio State where it was 49-3 at halftime.
There are a few exceptions. Don't get me wrong.
I think there's a lot. And then you have a game against Northwestern where it's real ugly and Lane McCollum kicks a line drive.
I got tipped at the line. Let's not forget.
Yes. And it barely made it. You have bad losses against Purdue and Minnesota. You have that, I'm telling you right now, that matters. And
it's a don't get me wrong, it's a losing program. I'm just saying the Scott Frost here was a lot of close games. There were bad ones, but it's not like they were losing at halftime.
But they continued to lose.
Yeah.
And so you have to go in with this mindset of we have a chance to turn the tide of this game. As a student, that's part of the student section. They feel, all right, if number one Purdue with Zach Edey comes into Pinnacle Bank Arena, they have a feeling that, hey, if we get under Zach Edey's skin, or if we get under Hunter Dickinson from Michigan's skin, they're going to start to play bad, and it's that intimate feeling. they're feeling less and less part of the game because it felt like over and over they continued to show up at the start of Scott Frost, and it did nothing. It did not help, which meant by 2021, by 2022, it became more of a social event where it's, hey, yeah, my parents, I bought the student season tickets. I'm going to go because I can get in free. But then at halftime, no matter what the score is, let's go to Barry's. Let's go downtown and let's party it up. That's what it's turned into.
I was watching the Florida Gators deal on Netflix,
Mhm.
and when they panned the crowd, and then you looked at the SEC, and look, I'm not saying that this isn't capable, but I'm speaking to what you're talking about, because when you pan the crowd and just the rowdy and the excitement and you knew you were in for it. And listen, the crazy thing is, it didn't matter if it was Ole Miss.
No,
it didn't matter if it was Mississippi State. But it was really rowdy when it was Tennessee, and Florida State, and the likes.
When you need them to show up, they're going to show up.
It was not, and I got energized watching it.
And to that point, all those teams you named have some sort of history with Florida.
Yeah,
the biggest game with any meaning on Nebraska's schedule is Iowa, which takes place on Black Friday, which is the least attended game by the students every year. They're home for Thanksgiving.
Well, and it's super cold. It's real cold. I mean, right? Like Nebraska's going to have an opportunity here if they take care of business at the start, whatever that record looks like. Obviously, taking care of business is a relative term. If Nebraska's able to take care of business here early on in the first 4 games of the year, Michigan coming, and man, that crowd is a heck of a lot different if you're 4-1 rather if you're 2-2. Excuse me,
Thunderstruck
3-1 instead of 2-2, or if you're 3-1 instead of 1-3. That crowd,
that's a fact.
It's
winning.
Lot
it's
different.
winning.
It is winning, and that's just I hate that we can just simply put it under that, because I think there is a deeper meaning to it.
There's more to it.
I think there's a lot more to it when you continue to pick it off layer by layer. There's more to it, but simply said, I mean, they're more interested in showing up for the first half and then saying, all right, let's watch the rest of the game at a house, doing other stuff. Like that's just
well, then there's the alcohol.
Absolutely. We can't ignore that either. We can't ignore that.
At a certain point, you want to go get some alcohol.
Exactly. And you can't ignore that part. And
you can only tailgate so long.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's you can only,
I feel that.
Well, with Nebraska
7-hour day. You're not going.
You can only
by the end of the half. You're twisted.
Well, you can only tailgate so well, and then that creates more problems because then stuff happens. And so I think also a big part of it is,
but I don't think it'd be that would be the case though, Nikki. If, like you say, you're able to do that, I don't think people go as crazy and as hard in the tailgating session. If they know inside they're going to be,
and there's also ways to like slowly introduce it to the stadium. Utah does it to where I believe I read that they section off a part of their concourse where only alcohol is allowed, and it stops. Obviously they stop selling at the end of the third quarter. It consolidates it to all the mess where you're willingly entering that part of the stadium, knowing that this is that section. This is that section where people are going to get rowdy. There might be some alcohol. You might be you might be spilled. Like all that comes with that. Instead of the entire stadium, it's consolidated to one area. So I think there's ways that you can incorporate it to where maybe that, once again, fan experience, as Trev Alberts talked about today at the Big Red Brunch, kind of plays a factor into it. Another thing is, what does the student section do for the rest of the stadium? Right, the student section makes up, if not all, that a real big chunk of that southeast corner of of Memorial Stadium. The whole entire corner is not really cheering that loud. It's not really gonna. Good luck starting a chant, right? Good luck starting to cheer. From trying to get the older generation to cheer and stand up and get hype. Good luck. But on the flip side, if that southeast corner starts everything, that entire stadium is going to get rowdy.
But they also need, like, again, it goes back to success again, because if you're a student and you're like, if you want to do the boneyard thing, I mean, they're doing that with Pelini, like, that's fine. If you're giving up 55 points a game, you look like an idiot in the student section holding that stuff up. So, there's only, I mean, you can't get too excited about a bad product, as we're saying. And though a lot of these games are close, they're frustratingly close. It's, it seemed a lot of times, just kind of getting in your own way, and hopefully we see the end of that.
How frustrated do you get when an Amazon package shows up and it's a bad product?
Very.
You know what I'm saying?
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at it, you're like, gosh, dang it, you're upset, you're mad, and your whole continence is down.
How about this? Big Ty says students and fans are more likely to fight the weather for a good team.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's absolutely that's accurate. And it's
I'll never forget that, Nick. I'll never forget how when we were in our good days, and this is in basketball, so you can even imagine what it's like in football when the students were literally camping outside to get student
in the
tickets.
cold.
In the cold.
Yeah.
We would show up for practice and be like, hey, yo.
Well, and that's another thing is, guys,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's serious.
Here's the honest truth. As somebody that just graduated college and was in it, there's not as many student tickets being sold, right? Because guess what? The way it happens, and this now granted, I was able to, I was doing pregame shows and stuff like that, so I didn't necessarily buy tickets for that reason. But if I wanted to attend a game, I attended one game in the student section, and it was that Northwestern game with Lane McCollum. And that's when I kind of like looked around and I was like, there's not a whole lot of juice. You got people turned around, not even watching the game. They're not paying attention. They don't really care a whole lot.
And I think that's part of it too, is that the intent, it's societal, attention span short of their other things to do. And not everyone's going to be there for the game, which frustrates me because that's why I'm there to watch the game and participate. But why don't they stick around? Like, you paid for a ticket.
Well,
why don't you stick around to the end of the game?
Here's what I'll tell you guys is that whenever me or buddies of mine that wanted to go to a game that didn't have tickets, people sold their tickets every week. Hey, got a student ticket available, $5 this weekend. That's all it was. That's all they cared about was, all right, if I want to go to this game, I'll spend $5 and go to the game, whatever. Because then you're out $5 on it if you leave at halftime, right? There's just not a desire to keep, number one, if you buy tickets to keep them, or number two, really to desire to buy season student tickets for football right now. Maybe this year is different, but in the last few years, because it was just by October, is Nebraska even in the race? So I think there's that to be to take into consideration. I apologize, guys. We're cutting into your show quite a bit there.
This is good stuff.
What's coming up on the block today, gentlemen?
Shohei's injury.
Yeah.
Does it affect the Angels' chances to re-sign him at all? We'll get into that. College football has a Comeback Player of the Year award.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know. So we're going to dive into the couple of Nebraska candidates there. Is Michigan good enough to win a title? And Oregon advertising in New York City and Dallas for Bo Nix to win the Heisman. Will this help West Coast football?
Yeah.
The Oregon and et cetera move to the Big Ten.
There you go. All that and more coming up next on the block. Appreciate you guys and appreciate Bach for hanging out with me for the last hour and a half or so. As Rico is making his way back from Tiburon Golf Club. Tomorrow we got Zach Carpenter on the air from Rivals to talk Husker football recruiting. That and more we'll hear from Matt Rule tomorrow as well in the morning. So stick around on the block. Stricken Austin coming up next.
The Southern Pecan Cake from Bakery. They don't do anything Southern, especially when it's baked right here in Nebraska. But there are standards you have to meet, like a rich, decadent, moist caramel cake? Check. Bursting with too many large pecans to count? Check. Big enough to share with the whole group? Check. Delicious enough that you won't want to share? A big check on that one. The Southern Pecan Cake, the newest cake to the Beatrice Bakery lineup. Try it for yourself at Beatrice Bakery. Online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln and across Nebraska by offering a number of services. From group homes to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people with developmental disabilities, you can check out open positions along with learning more about services at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. We hope you'll join us this year at the Step Forward Awards Luncheon on October 6th in Lincoln. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doan. For me, the Doan experience has been life-changing.
Acres, your John Deere dealer, is offering hot financing on all new compact tractors. For a limited time, get 0% interest for 84 months when you buy any new John Deere compact tractor. And with a variety of attachments, you'll make quick work of chores around your acreage. From mowing to grading and moving large loads, Acres has a John Deere tractor to handle your toughest projects. Don't delay. Visit your local Acres store to take advantage of this great offer. Acres, solutions for every field. Offer expires September 30th, 2023, subject to approved credit with John Deere Financial.
If your car has sent you to the sidelines, Eustace Body Shop can help. With gold-class certified technicians, OEM parts, and loaner cars, Eustace Body Shop is your best choice this Husker season. And with 6 locations across central and eastern Nebraska, we've got you covered. Rooting at home, or you're headed to Memorial Stadium. Get a free online quote at EustaceBodyShop.com, and let's get you back in the game.